My dear students, now I am going to start electrochemistry lesson. See, first, what is electrochemistry? The branch of chemistry which deals with the study of transformation of chemical energy into electrical energy and electrical energy into chemical energy is called electrochemistry. The branch of chemistry which deals with the study of transformation of chemical energy into electrical energy and electrical energy into chemical energy is called electrochemistry. So if we take electrolytic cell, in that electrolytic cell, by passing electric currents, new chemical compounds are formed. Suppose if we take molten sodium chloride in the electrolytic cell, if we take molten sodium chloride, by passing electric current, we can get sodium and chlorine. By passing electric current, we can get sodium at cathode, chlorine gas at anode. So here, by passing electric current, new chemical compounds are formed, means electrical energy is converted into chemical energy. If we take galvanic cell, in that galvanic cell, due to spontaneous redox reaction, say due to this reaction, due to this spontaneous redox reaction, electrical energy is produced. Due to this chemical reaction, electrical energy is produced. See, this and all we'll discuss later in this lesson only. Just I am explaining, in electrochemistry, it deals with the study of transformation of electrical energy into chemical energy and chemical energy into electrical energy. It is called electrochemistry. Electrochemistry mainly deals with the use of electrical energy for the preparation of chemical compounds Electrochemistry mainly deals with the use of electrical energy for the preparation of chemical compounds, for the dissociation of chemical compounds, and use of chemical reactions to produce electrical energy. Use of chemical reactions to produce electrical energy. Electrochemistry mainly deals with the use of electrical energy for the preparation of chemical compounds. Use of electrical energy for the dissociation of chemical compounds. Use of chemical reactions to produce electrical energy. Mainly that electrochemistry deals these three. See, electric current means flow of electrons or flow of electric charges through the conducting medium. Electric current means flow of electrons or flow of electric charges through the conducting medium. That conducting medium is called conductor. Electric current means flow of electrons or flow of electric charges through the conducting medium. That medium is called conductor. So the substance which allows electric current is called conductor. The substance which allows electric current is called conductor. These conductors are two types. See, first one, electronic conductors. Electronic conductors are metallic conductors. Second one, electrolytic conductors. Electrolytic conductors or electrolytes. The substance which allows electric current to pass through it is called conductor. Conductors are two types, electronic conductors and electrolytic conductors. Electronic conductors are metallic conductors. Electrolytic conductors are simply electrolytes. See, first let me explain what are electronic conductors. electronic conductors. Conductors which conduct electricity due to the flow of electrons are called electronic conductors or metallic conductors. Conductors which conduct electricity due to the flow of electrons are called electronic conductors or metallic conductors. If we take a copper wire, it allows electric current, it acts as conductor, its conductivity is due to flow of electrons. Example, metals and some alloys. Generally non-metals are not conductors, but if we take graphite, this is carbon allotropic form. Graphite is one of the allotropic form of carbon. Even carbon black, this is also one of the allotropic form. And some organic polymers. These are the electronic conductors or metallic conductors. Conductors which conduct electricity due to the flow of electrons. Are called electronic conductors. Example, metals, alloys. These are the non-metals, graphite, carbon black and some organic polymers. These are the electronic conductors or metallic conductors. Next, second one, electrolytic conductors. Electrolytic conductors are simply electrolytes. Electrolytic conductors are simply electrolytes. Conductors which conduct electricity due to the flow of ions, due to the movement of ions, are called electrolytic conductors. Conductors which conduct electricity due to the movement of ions, due to the migration of ions, are called electrolytic conductors. Suppose if we take aqueous solution of sodium chloride, in that aqueous sodium chloride solution, Na plus ions and Cl minus ions will be present. Due to the movement of these ions, this solution can act as conductor. Suppose if we take urea or glucose solution, these are not conductors. If we take glucose, that glucose molecules are present. C6H12O6, only molecules, neutral molecules. So that urea solution is not conductor. So electrolytic conductors means conductors which conduct electricity due to the movement of ions. Are called electrolytic conductors or simply electrolytes. Electrolytic conductors are simply electrolytes. So simply electrolyte means the substance which allows electric current to pass through it, either in its molten state or in its aqueous solution, is also called electrolyte. The substance which allows electric current to pass through it, either in its aqueous solution or in its molten state, is called electrolyte. Non-electrolyte means non-electrolyte. Non-electrolyte means the substance which does not conduct electricity, either in its molten state or in its aqueous solution, is called non-electrolyte. The substance which does not conduct electricity, either in its molten state or in its aqueous solution, is called non-electrolyte. Example, urea, glucose, fructose, sucrose. We can write so many examples. All these are non-electrolytes. These are non-electrolytes. Electrolytes are two types. Electrolytes are two types: strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. Strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. See, first, strong electrolytes. Strong electrolytes means electrolytes which undergo complete dissociation. Electrolytes which undergo complete dissociation and conduct electric currents large extent are called strong electrolytes. Electrolytes which undergo complete ionization or complete dissociation and conduct large extent of electric currents are called strong electrolytes. Example: strong acids, strong bases, most of the salts. Most of the salts are the strong electrolytes. Strong electrolytes means electrolytes which undergo complete dissociation and conduct large extent of electric current are called strong electrolytes. Example: strong acids, strong bases, most of the salts. Strong acids means we can write so many examples: HCl, HBr, HI, H2SO4, HClO4, HNO3. They are the strong acids. HCl, HBr, HI, H2SO4, HNO3, HClO4. Strong bases: alkyl methyl hydroxides except lithium hydroxide. Alkyl metal hydroxides like sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, rubidium hydroxide, cesium hydroxide. They are strong bases. Most of the salts like sodium chloride, potassium chloride, sodium sulfate, potassium sulfate, we can write so many examples. All these are strong electrolytes. They can undergo complete dissociation. Next, weak electrolytes. Electrolytes which do not undergo complete dissociation. Electrolytes which do not undergo complete dissociation and conduct less extent of electric current are called weak electrolytes. Electrolytes which do not undergo complete dissociation and conduct a small extent of electric current are called weak electrolytes. Example: weak acids, weak acids, weak bases, and sparingly soluble salts, These are the weak electrolytes. Weak acids, weak bases, sparingly soluble salts. So weak acids means we can write so many examples: organic acids like formic acid, acetic acid, propionic acid. Some inorganic acids, hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen cyanide. We can write so many examples. Weak bases: calcium hydroxide, magnesium hydroxides. Here also we can give so many examples. Sparingly soluble salts, some silver salts, lead salts, they do not undergo complete dissociation. They are partially soluble salts. They are the weak electrolytes. So conductors are two types: electronic conductors or metallic conductors. Second one, electrolytic conductors or electrolytes. Those electrolytes are two types: strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. So next one, factors affecting metallic conduction. Factors affecting metallic conduction or electronic conduction. factors affecting metallic conduction or electronic conduction. Electronic conduction. Nature and structure of the metal. It depends on nature and structure of the metal. Number of valence electrons. Number of valence electrons, that is electron density. Next, third one, temperature. Temperature. These are the factors affecting on metallic conduction. Factors affecting on metallic conduction. Nature and structure of the metal, number of valence electrons, and temperature. In chemistry, we have factors affecting on metallic conduction and electrolytic conduction, but electrolytic conduction is important in chemistry. Factors affecting electrolytic conduction. So next one, factors affecting electrolytic conduction. See, first factor, nature of electrolytes. Nature of electrolytes. See, if we take strong electrolytes, in case of strong electrolytes, we know that alpha value is 1. They undergo complete dissociation. Alpha means number of molecules dissociated divided by number of molecules taken, or number of moles dissociated divided by number of moles taken. For strong electrolytes, alpha is always 1. For weak electrolytes, alpha is less than 1. So, factors affecting electrolytic conduction, it depends on nature of electrolyte. If we take strong electrolytes are good conductors because they can undergo complete dissociation. That's why conductance is more. Conduction is more. If we take weak electrolytes, they do not undergo complete dissociation. Weak electrolytes do not undergo complete dissociation. So their conductance is less. So it depends on nature of electrolytes. Next, second one. Size of the ions produced. Size of the ions produced and their solvation. Second factor, size of the ions produced and their solvation. See, suppose if we take Na plus, K plus, Rb plus, Cs plus ions. From Na plus to Cs plus, size increases. If we take alkali metal chlorides, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, rubidium chloride, cesium chlorides, anion is common. But cation size increasing from Na plus to Cs plus, cation size increases. As size increases, mobility of ions decreases. As its size increases, its mobility decreases. Mobility of ions decrease means conduction decreases. As the size of the ion increases, movement of the ions, mobility of the ions decreases. That's why conductance decreases. So it depends on size of the ions. If we take these salts means sodium chloride, let us take chlorides, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, rubidium chloride, cesium chloride. In their aqueous states, in their molten state means from Na plus to Cs plus, size increases. In their molten states, molten or a fused states, top to bottom means from Na plus to Cs plus, size increases. As size increases, mobility of the ions decreases, then conductance decreases. But if you take an aqueous state, in aqueous state, aqueous Na plus ion, let us take all are in aqueous state only, all are in aqueous state. In aqueous states, from Na plus to Cs plus, from Na plus to Cs plus, their size decreases. Already we know this concept. From Na plus to Cs plus in aqueous state, their size decreases because see hydration energy is directly proportional to charge and inversely proportional to size. All these have same charge. All metal ions have same charge. Hydration energy is inversely proportional to size. If we take alkyl metal ions from Li plus to Cs plus, size increases. As size increases, hydration energy decreases. Hydration energy decreases. So Na plus has highest hydration energy. If we take Li plus has highest hydration energy. Li plus has highest hydration energy. Highest hydration energy means more number of water molecules will be surrounded. Hydration energy is directly proportional to charge, inversely proportional to size. If we take Na plus and K plus in aqueous state, Na plus is small ion, but in aqueous state Na plus is large ion because of its high hydration energy, more number of water molecules will be surrounded. More number of water molecules will be surrounded, but in case of K plus, less number of water molecules. That's why in aqueous state, from Li plus to Cs plus, their size decreases. In molten state, from Li plus to Cs plus, size increases. But in aqueous state, from Li plus to Cs plus, size decreases. So as size decreases, mobility of ions increases. So here, see, size of the ions produced and their solvation. Size more means mobility of the ions will be less. Then conduction will be less. Size less means mobility will be more. Mobility more means conduction will be more. And their solvation. That solvation more means if the solvent is water, that solvation is called hydration process. If the solvent is, say when ionic compound dissolved in the solvent, ions will be surrounded by solvent molecules. That process is called solvation process. When ionic compound dissolved in the solvent, ions will be surrounded by solvent molecules. That process is called solvation process. If that solvent is water, that solvation is called hydration process. During that hydration process, energy will be liberated. That liberated energy is called hydration energy. Solvation energy, if that solvent is water, that solvation energy is nothing but hydration energy. That hydration energy is directly proportional to charge and inversely proportional to size. So degree of solvation more means more number of solvent molecules will be surrounded, then mobility will be less, then conduction will be less. Size of the ions produced and their solvation. So size of the ions increase means mobility decreases, then conduction decreases, and degree of solvation increases. If the degree of solvation increases, size increases, then mobility decreases. So conduction decreases. If degree of solvation increases, size increases. See Na plus, more number of water molecules will be surrounded. More number of water molecules will be surrounded. Then its size will be more. If we take Cs plus, here less number of water molecules. Less number of water molecules will be surrounded. Then size will be less. So among these two, this is aqueous Na plus ion, this is aqueous Cs plus ion. This ion size is more, then its mobility will be less. So that Conduction depends on size of the ions produced and their solvation. So next factor, nature of the solvent, nature of the solvent and its viscosity. Nature of the solvent and its viscosity. Third factor is nature of the solvent and its viscosity. So in case of polar solvents, degree of ionization is more. Extent of ionization will be more. In case of polar solvents, when compared to non-polar solvents. In case of polar solvents, that electrolyte degree of ionization will be more, then conduction will be more. If viscosity of solvent is more, if viscosity of solvent will be more, if viscosity of solvent is more, then mobility of ions will be less. Viscosity of the solvent is more means solvent interactions are more. Solvent interactions are more, then mobility of ions will be less. Mobility of ions will be less, then conduction will be less. Next, fourth one, concentration of the solution. Concentration of the solution. If concentration of the solution increases, then conduction decreases. If the concentration of the solution increases, then conduction decreases. See, I am taking first weak electrolytes. See, in case of weak electrolytes, if concentration increases means degree of dissociation decreases. In case of weak electrolytes, if concentration increases, degree of dissociation decreases. Degree of dissociation decrease means number of ions decrease. Then conduction decreases. See, we know that according to Ostwald's dilution law, as the dilution increases, in case of weak electrolytes, as the dilution increases, degree of dissociation increases. As the dilution increases, degree of dissociation increases. See, for weak electrolytes, alpha is always less than 1, but at infinite dilution, this alpha becomes 1, because at infinite dilution, even weak electrolytes can also undergo complete dissociation. At infinite dilution, even weak electrolytes can also undergo complete dissociation. That is only Ostwald's dilution law. As the dilution increases, nothing but concentration decreases. Degree of dissociation increases, then alpha becomes 1. See, concentration of the solution. In case of weak electrolytes, if concentration increases means degree of dissociation decreases, then conduction decreases. If we take strong electrolytes, in case of strong electrolytes, as the concentration increases, in case of strong electrolytes, as the concentration increases, ion-ion interactions increases. Ion-ion interactions increase, means attractions are more. Concentration more means between the ions attractions will be more, then mobility will be less. So conduction decreases with increasing of concentration of the solution, whether it is weak electrolytes or strong electrolytes. As concentration increases, conduction decreases. Next, last one, temperature. Last factor is temperature. So in case of electronic conductors or metallic conductors, as temperature increases, resistance increases. Then metallic conductance or electronic conductance decreases. If temperature increases, electronic conductance or metallic electronic conduction or metallic conduction decreases. But in case of electrolytic conductors, as temperature increases, conduction increases. Because as temperature increases, mobility of ions increases, movement of ions increases, then conduction increases. In case of electrolytic conductors or electrolytes, or electrolytic conductors, as temperature increases, degree of dissociation increases. If it is strong electrolyte, all it undergoes complete dissociation. Then as temperature increases, mobility of the ions increases. Then conduction increases.